Monitored Tom Benson's press conference, and he joins us live from the governor's mansion. Mr. Perry, Mr. Benson didn't come right out and call anybody a liar, but he did say what you had said was fiction. I'd like to know what you're thinking about what Mr. Benson said.
Well, I guess I've got two reactions, Angela. The first one was that Mr. Benson clearly doesn't have a complete understanding of what happened today. I will tell you that, in the first case, I'm getting feedback on the mic, so I'm not able to really hear. I'll take this out while I'm talking. What Mr. Benson indicated, first of all, was that the Saints had not walked away. I will tell you the Saints clearly did walk away today. In fact, that was said to me, to Bernie Boudreaux, the governor's executive counsel, to Doug Thornton, the general manager of the Superdome, and to Randy Haney, who is the representative of the Saints in the lobbying efforts. What he actually indicated was that our proposal was insufficient. They were terminating negotiations at that point in time. And in terminating the negotiations, they indicated that their next strategy was to proceed with a Mississippi option, and then after that, possibly to hire an investment banking firm to sell the team. Now, the thing, Angela, that I thought was most important tonight was there was a real passion by Tom Benson for keeping the Saints in New Orleans. That's something we haven't heard for a while, so I think that was very, very encouraging.
Sir, I think
that part was very, very encouraging. Now, the part that I think was very disturbing is Mr. Benson clearly had mixed up information from several different proposals. He had information from a proposal from a month ago. He had information mixed with a proposal from 2 weeks ago, with information from a proposal today. I think there's a couple of key points. And those are that, number one, Mr. Benson clearly stated tonight that he was worried about the level of guarantees and where that truly put the Saints in the NFL. Unfortunately, in his comments about keeping them last in the league, Mr. Benson and maybe his staff have mixed up gross operating numbers with net income numbers. The truth is that from a net operating income basis, our proposal would put the Saints in the top half of the league and probably in the top 12. It is true, from a gross income basis, the Saints would still be low. But we have 24 to 26 new stadia in the league. And because of that, there are huge operating costs. So what we try to do is to balance it on what real cash comes into the New Orleans Saints club. Our proposal clearly put them in the top half and very likely in the top 12. The other indication was about problems regarding the transition to a new stadium. The unfortunate thing, Angela, was that the Saints never even developed a business model or a pro forma of what would be gained by the city or the community or even the Saints organization with a new stadium. Our business model clearly showed that we could make Tom Benson more money right in the Superdome in the next 7 or 8 years than in a new stadium that would have huge associated debt costs. Now, with that, we seem to have some real confusion about this transition process. The Saints negotiating team actually agreed with us at our last negotiating meeting on the process for the development of a new stadium. We agreed on the process of a Blue Ribbon Commission report by March 1, 2004. Both sides agreed to give the legislature 2004 and 5 to implement and execute the financing mechanisms for the new stadium. And then we agreed that the Saints would be in the Dome through 2007, with the new stadium being ready in 2008. So we're really surprised today to hear that that's something that's problematic for them, because they had already agreed to it, and that was a point really of consensus all the way up to today. A couple of the other issues that we found a little bit problematic was the issue of naming rights. Tom, Angela has talked tonight about naming rights being something that was soft. The naming rights piece can't be done until the Saints sign the new agreement with us, and the reason is that potential sponsors, and there are a number out there, the potential sponsors can't sign the agreement until they know the Saints are going to stay. So we have even offered the following. We told the Saints negotiators, guys, we will not ask you to sign a new agreement until the naming rights piece is in place, so you're not signing on anything soft. You're signing on something hard so that it's a real number. Now, Mr. Benson talked about the concessions piece and the fact that it wasn't guaranteed. I'm not sure what his team has told exactly, but the truth is the concessions piece was 100% guaranteed by the state. So we seem to have some mixed information. I think the important point is that when you compare apples to apples, and by that I mean not areas that have new stadiums and high dollars but have high operating expenses, but you in fact compare net operating income, pure, cold, hard, free cash to the clubs, the deal that we're offering the New Orleans Saints will clearly put them in the top 12 of the league. Now, there was another problem with one of the assertions that Mr. Benson made, and I'm not sure how, why his information is not correct, but he indicated that our state inducements on things like the ticket sales and about the advertising revenue and some of the other concessions, all of that would be guaranteed only by exit credits. That's in fact not the case. We're guaranteeing that also in cold, hard cash. So there seems to be some miscommunications internally. I'm not quite sure where they're coming from, but the good thing that I think all of us should take stock of tonight is that, number one, there seemed to be a clear message from Tom that he was interested in trying to work out a deal. That was not the message the negotiators delivered today. They delivered a very clear message that they felt like even though that we were less than $1 million apart, negotiations were over, and that their process was to pursue Mississippi and the Gulf Coast and then to pursue investment banking sale of the team.
Mr. Perry, let me interrupt you very quickly.
Sure, Angela.
Just for a second. What do you think the motive of all of this is?
Well, I can't really speak to the motive on their part. I think one of the frustrations that we've had is that we haven't had Mr. Benson in the room with us. Mr. Benson is a great businessman. He's had a great business career. There clearly in his assessment tonight was a mix-up of a lot of different proposals and numbers, including a non-understanding of the guarantees and how they were offered, of how the naming rights deal was going to be applied, of how the business commitments were going to be guaranteed, and that really worries us. What we did clearly hear was that Tom's got an interest, if at all possible, in keeping the team here. I think that's a tremendous positive. But the message sent to us, and I will tell Angela, we want you to know that it was definitive. The negotiations ended, and they informed us that we were going to proceed, that they were going to proceed with the Mississippi option next. The reason the state called a press conference, and Mr. Benson had sort of implied that we had this planned in advance. In fact, our negotiating team walked in today feeling like we were so close to a deal that we had a good opportunity possibly to have a press conference to announce the consensus agreement as early as tomorrow. We were frankly totally shocked that they barely listened to our proposal this morning, conferred very quickly into our meeting, left the room to talk with Mr. Benson, and came back and said they were walking away. We've got a fiduciary responsibility and a responsibility to a lot of citizens who wanted to know our position. We had to then we informed in the hour after negotiations closed about 10 or 15 different legislators. We contacted the governor immediately. We contacted Mayor Morial in Detroit and spoke at length with the mayor to tell him about the unfortunate turn of events. We reconfirmed with our business community leadership and with our other state leadership that in fact our package was sound and was one they were behind, and that we were so close we were frankly stunned with this turn of events. So we felt like, yes.
I appreciate you taking all this time and giving us some insights into what has happened in really the last 10 hours of a very important day. And we'll certainly be talking to you later about it as well. But we thank you very much for joining us. We're now going to go back to Saints camp and continue with the press conference.